Adorama TV presents How'd They Do That?, where we explore the world of professional photographers and share their techniques with you. Here's your host, Mark Wallace.
Hi everybody, welcome to this week's episode of How'd They Do That? Well, today on the show we have Rachael Kuivinen, who is a portrait photographer who specializes in family and children portraiture and destination weddings. She's a phenomenal photographer who I've known for a few years now. And we recently were talking about a wedding that she was shooting in Puerto Rico, and she finished that. We said, hey, can you come in and talk to us about that wedding specifically? She said yes, and here is our discussion with Rachael. Well, Rachael, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that you have a little bit of a cold, so bonus points for you for coming out even when you're sick.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about, you've been shooting a lot of travel photography for years now, but you also shoot people and weddings and all kinds of things. So what are you focusing on lately?
Probably for the past year, I've been concentrating on a lot of children and family photography. I keep it very organic, very natural, and love working with children. So it's a new world for me, but I absolutely love it. So, but throughout the year, I've done a few events and a few weddings. So. Well,
today we want to talk specifically about a wedding that we've been talking about for almost a year now. So you called me and said, hey, I've got this wedding in Puerto Rico coming up.
Yes.
And it was a very challenging wedding. So tell us some of the challenges that you were facing before the wedding, and then let's talk about how you solved those.
Absolutely. So we were always scared of the unknown, and so you can't exactly go to the location, see the site, see how the lighting is going to present itself. So I just tried to put myself kind of in the worst possible scenario, so that way I had the equipment available to me, knew how to work it, and you know, get myself out of any situation where there was really no light at all. So I came to you, we asked for some tips, and you gave me some great advice. Used all of them, and they worked beautifully.
All this stuff. And so some of the challenges specifically, though, were you were shooting the reception in the dark. Basically. Like literally no lights. It was just, you know, candle light here and there, so outside.
Outdoors, yeah.
Yeah, and then just totally unknown what the location was going to look like.
Exactly, right off the beach, so.
Right, and plus, you really couldn't take a lot of lighting equipment because it's Puerto Rico, so you're flying down there. So what did you do? How did you solve those issues?
Basically, everything was backed up, so I had you know, multiple flashes, multiple cameras, multiple lenses. I was on a deserted island, so there's no camera store right up the street that you can go buy stuff at, and you know, when things start to fall apart. Batteries galore. So, but the other great thing was that everything you suggested was very portable. Some of the pieces of equipment, like the lasso light and some of the reflectors.
So let's talk about that. What did you shoot with? Let's talk about the cameras, the lenses, and then get into the flashes.
Okay. So I shoot with the 5D Mark II in Canon. And I did have two of those on me at all times. I have the 70-200 lens, which is fabulous, the 24-70 for a wide angle, and the 50mm at 1.4. I then have the Canon 580 EX2 flashes, and then you had recommended the 24-inch softbox by Lasso Light, and that was wonderful. It folds up beautifully.
Yeah, it's just really small and
right in my suitcase. And then we had the extender on it, so I had an assistant, which was my husband, and he was wonderful. And
so before you go, how was that? You know, I know sometimes when couples work together, things don't go so well. So tell us the experience of having your husband as an assistant on location.
It was interesting. Our dynamic of our relationship through the past year, he's assisted me a lot in the business end of the photography business. And this is a whole new experience. We had never really shot together before, and depending on him solely for my light, which was so important, was very interesting, but it worked beautifully. We really had prepared ahead of time, and I knew what cues I was going to give him, and he just moved around really beautifully and tried to get a little creative himself there, so which is always fun.
Awesome. So he had, let's talk, so he had a 580 EX2, and it had the Lasso Light softbox.
Correct.
And then how are you triggering that?
So basically we used the Pocket Wizards, the Mini, and he had, obviously we had the receivers. And
so you had the Flex, you had the Mini on your camera.
Exactly. And it really did work beautifully. It was firing off every time. And then I also actually put one 580 on one of my cameras just in case I needed more light, like during the dancing and things like that, for the 70-200 lens. And so basically that's how we shot the wedding. And
so you had two cameras, you'd pull it out, he'd be over wherever he was shooting and click, click, click.
Exactly. Wow.
Okay, so let's look at some of these images, and to do that I'm going to grab my iPad and then we're going to go look through some of this stuff that you shot, and then we'll sort of walk through how you did this.
Great.
All right, so now we have the iPad here. We have a lot of the images that you shot. This first set, it looks like you were shot, it's obviously on the beach. So tell us about the lighting and some of these images that you shot here.
Okay, so this series basically, while it wasn't shot at the most optimal hour, because they did not plan the party around photography, we basically shot around, I want to say it was around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And so we had them go out into the beach. I said, you know, I want you to do your first dance. I want you to be far away, and I was basically shooting with a 24-70 with the wide angle. Let them just be themselves, and shot from a distance. And then we took them in a car about 5 minutes away and just kind of get them in that feel of like they're in the middle of nowhere.
So was that
really beautiful?
So some of these shots that you have inside all this green, was that also shot the same day?
Yep, all within minutes of one another.
Also natural light?
Also all natural light.
You also have some shots. So this one specifically, it's they are underneath some overgrowth here. How did you get the light in, these areas?
So my husband was just to the right of me, and so he was using a kind of a soft gold reflector, just trying to bring the light right onto them, because they were pretty shaded, and they lost really all the light underneath that foliage.
So let's talk about, there's a couple of shots that we have here, and these are the portraits of the bride. Tell us, when are these the day before, the day of? When did you shoot these? These are just gorgeous. Thank you.
They're all shot the day of. She's just put her dress on. Her mom's in there, and it's just her mother and I and the bride. So basically, it's all natural light. The room that they got ready in was absolutely stunning. Completely all windows to the left, because there was a beach scene. So all this great natural light was coming in from the windows, and so I just shot, this is a 70-200 lens, and just got nice and tight with her when her mom was putting her dress on. So
now, shooting with a lens that long, do you find it difficult to have enough space when you're shooting weddings? Or are you able to do that with the 5D Mark II, just get back a little bit with the full frame
just
sensor? Get
back a little bit. It really doesn't pose that much challenge, I don't believe. It's such a fabulous lens, and I don't really see, if the room's a decent size, but I can make my way and make it work. So.
Well, there's another shot. It's this one where it's shot the bride from above, and the light here, it just seems to be surrounding her. Now, is this natural light, or did you add some light to this shot?
This is not natural light. This is in a staircase. She's just finished getting ready, where she's going down the staircase here. We basically, my husband did have the Lastolight 24-inch box. We kind of put it right behind her, a little bit low, kind of towards her back, and we just shot off, kind of looking above. So I was right at the top of the staircase, and she was kind of mid-level there. And it just came out beautiful. She's a beautiful girl.
Beautiful. Now these shots with bride and groom together, were these also shot day of wedding?
The day of a wedding. So the wedding, basically the ceremony started around 5 o'clock, and so I had a little time with them around 3 o'clock to take them to a beautiful resort, the W Hotel on the island, and I couldn't resist. So I knew that the lighting wasn't going to be perfect, but we could always, make it work. And so we found some shaded areas. We used the reflectors at times, but I mainly used natural light for this entire segment.
Awesome. Now, these shots that are at a great distance on the beach. So I'm assuming natural light, long lens, is that right? Actually,
this is the 24-70, and I kept it at almost at the 24 millimeter and on all natural light, yes. So. Yeah,
these are just gorgeous shots. Okay, so now the wedding itself. Here's the ceremony. Walk us through how you shot the images at the ceremony. How do you keep it organic specifically?
So the ceremony was shot at a beautiful hour. Basically, it's at 5 o'clock there. Sun completely sets at 6:15. So I wanted to make sure that we had no flash at all and just really natural light on a whole. So also, I think that the ceremony is such an intimate time that I can be very quiet and move around with nobody knowing. I think a big flash coming in the picture just wouldn't make it that intimate. So took all the flashes off, used natural light, and absolutely turned out beautifully. She had a great tree behind her, which shaded her nicely. Sun was kind of hiding right behind the building, so it turned out really nicely.
Now, did you do any test shots before the ceremony, or did you show up and go, here's what we have and let's shoot?
No, I mean, I had my camera. I actually was fortunate enough to attend the rehearsal, which was the day before and that morning, and the light was not what the light was going to be. But I could really get a feel of where the light was going to be, especially seeing the buildings and everything there. So it wasn't the exact lighting, but I knew where they were going to be standing. I knew where the light was going to be because I was fortunate enough to come in the day before, and we came in at sunset when we were flying in, so I could see where the light was going to be that day before. So
I think only photographers will look out the window to see where the light's gonna be.
Oh, it was so exciting. It was like 6 o'clock, and I'm like, I still have light right now.
That's awesome. All right, so now at the reception there were no lights, there were some video lights that were on.
Yes.
Now, how did you tackle the problem of just crazy light, black to really hard light? I know you got a shot like this one, which is amazing. So how did you get more shots like this?
Okay, so, and I have to say, in the beginning, I was very lucky because the first dances were all during natural light. And then the real reception, the dancing and stuff didn't start till after the dinner was served, so there was no light at all. There was 2 floodlights that were put up by the videographer, and while those help sometimes, they hurt sometimes. So when I could notice that most of the couples were kind of to the left and not near those floodlights, I would really start to shoot heavily during that time. Or I would shoot another angle. I didn't want to shoot in the front of them where the lights were flooding their faces and overexposed. So I would shoot when they were turning around and that light was behind them. So we messed around with it, but during times like this, I started to get the feel of how the lighting was supposed to be and how it was really nice. And this particular shot, they were, the floodlights were completely far away from them. And this is basically only lit from the 24-inch lots of light.
Well, those are really amazing shots. And you just shot this wedding about 2.5 weeks ago, is that right?
Correct, yes.
So you haven't even had a chance to look through everything, so we get a sneak peek, which is great.
Exactly.
How do you do all of your post-production? How do you sort through the images? How do you show your clients, what is your process?
Basically, I upload everything when I get home. I would like to look at everything before. I like to see how I can edit it. And so for a bride and groom like this, I might tell them it might take me a month or 2 to really completely finish post-production and editing. So they see the final product, which is really what you've always anticipated as a bride. So I shot for about 12 hours that day. We came home with something around, maybe 1,800 pictures for the actual wedding day. And I'll probably give the bride around 1,000 images in that ballpark. So, but just there might be duplicates of something or whatnot. But I just want to give her the top,
And do you sit down with the couple and say, here are your shots, and then they pare that down to what they want in their book? Or how do you do that?
Yeah, I know. I give them a little time to really start to look at them because it takes a while to really find your favorites. But once they have those favorites down, then we can start creating books, printing prints and things like that. So, but they get the digital CD, and they have time with that. So.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for walking us through this wedding. It was really an amazing time. So, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, that was our discussion with Rachael Kuivinen. You can see more of her work on her website, rachaelkuivinen.com, and you can see more about the equipment she was talking about at the Adorama Learning Center, specifically the Lastolite softbox that she used and the Pocket Wizard Mini and Flex. All that stuff, you can see that on the Learning Center. Well, remember, if you have somebody that you'd like to see on how they do that, you can send your suggestion to me at AskMark@Adorama.com. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you again next week.
This episode is brought to you by Adorama TV. Visit the Adorama Learning Center where you'll find photography tips and techniques, links to the gear used in this episode, and related videos. For all the latest photography, video, and computer gear, visit Adorama.com. And the next time you're in New York City, visit our store located on 18th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue.